Welcome to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel Jackson. And in this space, we do life together, we grow together, and we heal together. And sometimes that leads to a change of heart. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel. And if you're joining me for the first time, hey girl, welcome to the potty. And if you're a returning listener, hey girl, hey, welcome back. So as you can tell by the title, today is my birthday. I was going to do the normal Thursday upload, but I'm like, my birthday's on a Friday. We're going to go ahead and upload this on Friday. So instead of doing my normal girl, let me tell you something. Today, this whole episode is going to be like a girl, let me tell you something, because I'm doing a continuation of an episode that I did in season 2, I believe, for my birthday, where I share just lessons from life, things that have really been resonating with me lately, things that have really just helped me or encouraged me, and just certain things that I'm getting real comfortable in at this point in my life. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into the first thing. And let me say this. I'm not giving y'all a list of things based off of my age because we'll be here forever. But I'm gonna give you about 15 things, okay? So first things first, one of the beautiful things that happened as I entered into my 30s that has really just become more firm and more 10 toes down is my no. I am heavy on my no these days. There was a point in time where I really struggled with people pleasing. And so I was saying yes to everything. And honey, it is something about I remember people telling me it gets good in your 30s. It's like you're really starting to settle into who you are. You are more firm on certain things. It's like what you care about, and what you don't care about, you do not care about. And I feel like there's also a transition that happens the closer that you get to 40. And I'm in that transitional period. And as I'm making my way there, when I tell you, if I don't want to do something, it's a no for me, baby. And I love that for me because as a reformed people pleaser, gone are the days of saying yes to things to keep the peace, yes to things to make people happy, yes to convenience everyone else. I'm very much so firm on my no, and I love it here. The second lesson that I've learned is that we really all are out here doing the best we can with what we got, okay? We are all out here doing the best we can with what we got. And I feel like a lot of times we have in our mind that once you hit a certain age, you're going to feel like this. You're going to feel like a real adult. You're going to feel like you got things figured out. And here we are. And it's like, to an extent, yes, there are some things that you have figured out. Yes, there are some things that you have learned, some areas that you've grown in for sure. But there was really an assumption that I carried for a very long time where I felt like I was behind, or I felt like everyone else is living their best life and I'm over here living my struggle life. And it seems like it feels like I'm the only one. But when you start talking to people and you start having real conversations with people, you will see that all of us are doing the best we can with what we got. And ain't nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that there aren't some people who are out here and they have it figured out and they're living their best life. Kudos to you. Proud of you, sis. However, there's a whole group of us in our 30s that we're like, how are we the new adults? How are we? The third thing that has really been resonating with me over the last couple of years is that growth tends to look differently than what you may think. And what I mean by this, I'm always saying, give grace to the version of you who is still becoming. Give grace to the version of you who is still learning, who is still healing, who is still growing. A lot of times we feel like growth will look like, this means that I will never struggle with this issue again. This means I will never be triggered by this again. This means that I'm never going to have this issue again. And that's not necessarily always the case. You can have grown in an area, but still have moments where you revert back, or still have moments where you may be triggered and respond in a way that you have outgrown. But even just your ability to be able to acknowledge hey, I could have done that differently, or I should have done that differently, or I know that this is a trigger for me. I know that this is something that for whatever reason, it irritates me and I have to be mindful of that. I have to respond differently. That is something that I am still learning and working through. But as I'm getting older, that's something that I try to constantly keep in my mind, is that growth may look differently than what I feel like it should or what I thought that it would. But ultimately, it does not negate the fact that I'm growing. It does not negate the fact that I'm evolving, even though my growth and my process don't quite look the way that I thought that it would or feel like it should. However, I can always look back a year ago, a couple of years ago, and I know that I'm not the same woman that I was when I was 30 or when I was 25 or when I was 21. So I know that growth has taken place, but a lot of times when you're in a space where you feel like you're not growing fast enough, you're not changing fast enough, or you're not actually able to see the change, a lot of times it's very easy to feel like you're not growing. It feels like nothing's working. You feel like you're not doing enough. And it can be really easy to just like try to do the most and make yourself feel like you are always a project that needs to be fixed. And that's exhausting. So that's something I'm embracing more, is that growth may look different from what I thought that it would, but it doesn't mean that I'm not growing. And even if that pace is slow, there's still progress being made. Which leads me into my next lesson, which is getting clear on who I want to be versus who I feel like I should be. And this lesson is something that I'm like really sitting in this year particular. It's something that has really been resonating with me because on one hand, there has been certain circumstances that has made me feel like I should look a certain way, I should be a certain way. And there was a point in time where I really was trying to adjust to that and adapt to that mindset. And there are areas where it's like, okay, I definitely have been like set free from that. We are no longer carrying that. But if I'm being honest, I realized in marriage that I had in my mind this visual of what I felt like a good wife was and what that looked like, what she does, who she is. And I was trying to adapt this model essentially of what I felt like a good wife was. And y'all, if I'm being honest, I realized I ain't like doing half the stuff that I was actually doing that I felt like meant I was being a good wife. And I found myself feeling frustrated at times. I found myself feeling like, I don't like this and I don't want to do this. And I had a conversation with my husband one day and was like, do you care if I do X, Y, or Z? And he's like, no. And I'm like, so first of all, like, I have been carrying this mindset since we got married that as a good wife, I'm supposed to do X, Y, or Z. I'm supposed to be X, Y, or Z. And I realized, first of all, I ain't never asked this man, do you care? Does this make me a good wife to you? Do you care about these things? Do you feel like this is what a good wife looks like? And the funny thing is, we had conversations about that prior to getting married, what our expectations were of each other as spouses. But I still had this model. I still had this idea of what I felt like it meant or looked like to be a good wife that I was trying to adopt essentially. And one, my husband didn't care. And two, it's like these are things that I don't want to do. It's things that I don't enjoy doing. It's things that I feel like I have to do it, but I really don't want to do it. And to find out that he didn't care about most of those things, it's like, okay, well, let me relieve myself of some of this pressure and be who I am while also learning what it looks like and what it means to be this role as far as like what he wants, but also what I want to be as a wife too. And that applies to a lot of different areas of our life. I'm learning in a lot of ways just who I want to be as a woman, who I want to be simply as Angel, with no title attached of anything that I do or what my role is in anyone's life. Like, who do I want to be simply as Angel? And based off of who I want to be, is that based off of who God actually created me to be, who God wants me to be? Or is it this model that I feel like I should be this? Or I should do this. And it's like, girl, first of all, God don't even care, like your husband. God don't even care about that. Or it's like, what am I trying to prove? You know? And so that's something I'm really just sitting with over this year, just thinking about when I think about who I want to be as a woman, what does that look like? Who am I aside from all of the other stuff, outside of all of those things? Who do I want to be? Not who I feel like I should be, not what I feel like I should be doing, what I should look like. Simply, who do I want to be? And what does that look like through the lens of God? So the next thing is actually a quote that I saw on Instagram recently. I don't know if this man's name is Mitchell Clark or if it's Michael Clark. It's spelled a little funny. I will put his IG in the show notes and the description box on YouTube. But he posted something recently that said, when you're nervous about stepping outside of your comfort zone, remind yourself it feels scary because it's unfamiliar, not because I'm incapable. And when I saw that, I was like, ooh, we got to share this with the potty. And also, that's something that I have to like remind myself of as well. I've said before, I don't like being new at things. I like being able to know what I'm doing. I want to do it well pretty quickly. And so being in situations where it really is forcing me outside of my comfort zone or where it is stretching me, there are times where you can feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I'm failing. I'm inadequate. I'm not good enough. And it does there can be a weight, a heaviness that sits with you, making you feel like you're incapable when it's like, this is simply just unfamiliar. This is something new. This is something you haven't done before. This is something that is stretching you, is something that is taking you out of your comfort zone. And just because it's hard, just because you face opposition, just because it didn't work or go as planned the first time, it doesn't mean that you're not capable of seeing it through. This is just something new. It's something that is unfamiliar. It's something that is stretching you. And that's okay. And I have to learn to be okay with that. But that's something that I want to carry with me throughout the years and be reminded when I'm being stretched, when I'm in a season that is uncomfortable, when I'm in a season specifically where I'm doing something that I've never done before, that is unfamiliar. Yes, it may be hard initially. Yes, I may hit some hiccups along the way. I may mess up. I may make mistakes. But ultimately, that's also a part of the process. And I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as I grow. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's literally a part of the learning process. And it's okay to not get it right the first time. It's okay if you got to do it a couple of times. It's okay if you have to try again. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But don't allow that to get you to a place where you feel like you're incapable or inadequate. One of the biggest things that I have learned is a whole lot can change in a year. Ask me how I know. Since you asked, a whole lot can change in a year. And I know people say that all the time, but I think about so many different transitional periods in my life. I think about so many things as far as relationships, employment, just different shifts. So much can change in a year. And those things that change in a year, essentially, it just took one day. It took one day to start the beginning of this whole new chapter, this whole new life that you didn't even know that you were embarking on. My entire life changed in 2023, and nobody could have told me that everything that happened, even just beyond getting married, but no one could have told me that my life today would be what it is today last year. I may have been believing for some things, but yeah, like, trust me when I say a lot can change in a year. And it really is just, it's one day where everything changes. And you may not even recognize what the one day is when it's happening that is literally changing the trajectory of your life going forward. But literally, give God 24 hours. Give him another chance. Try him one more time. Try him one more again. Because when I tell you, a lot can change in a year. Ask me how I know. All right, so the next thing, I won't necessarily call it a lesson. I'll say it's more so of something that I've like really settled into and being very much so at peace with. It's something that I shared in the last Lessons from Life episode, and that is the fact that I don't want kids. And I said during that episode that I was always a little like reluctant to like stand 10 toes down on that. But I'm very much so at a space where I am open to God. If you want to change those plans, I'm not going to grip that no so tightly that I won't allow you to do it. My prayer has been, God, if it's for us to have kids, you will change our hearts towards that. If it's not for us to have kids, you will solidify that thing. And it's interesting to me because a lot of people have always said to me that, oh, you just haven't met the right person. When you get married, that will change and all these other things. And I'm not saying that it won't change. It possibly could. I'm very much so settling into my fine, rich auntiness, still working on the rich part, but we are very much so settling into that and feeling good about that. So I say all of that to say, don't be asking me if I'm pregnant, y'all, okay? I already know how it goes. People get married. When y'all gonna have babies? Don't ask me if I'm pregnant. If you see me post a picture, I got on oversized clothes, whatever it might be. Don't assume I'm pregnant. Sis is fluffy these days, okay? Stuff fits a little different, all right? We're wearing what's comfortable. Don't assume I'm pregnant because 9.9999 out of 10 times, I'm not, okay? The next lesson that I have learned is how important it is to set yourself up for whatever you want to see next year, next month, 2-3 years from now, why that is so important. And something that has really just like drilled that in my mind here recently. So how many of you are in the ghetto that is owing student loans? We hate it here, okay? It is a mess, and I don't foresee any time in the near future of actually getting relief when it comes to student loan debt. I'm okay with that because I have a plan for it. But let me tell you about this plan and how it should have and could have been done years ago. Actually, this year specifically, but it also could have been done years ago. So I do qualify for public service loan forgiveness, which is great. And I'm grateful. I'm genuinely grateful. And there were years when I was in my 20s where I put my student loans in deferment because I just did not want to pay them. I was working, doing other stuff. My rent was like $575 for this cute little 1-bedroom apartment, okay? I had a decent job at that time. And I put my student loans in deferment for years. And now that I qualify for the public service loan forgiveness, for those of you who don't know, with public service loan forgiveness, if you pay on your loans for 10 years and make 120 qualifying payments working as a public service employee, then your student loans will be wiped clean, essentially. So you can go from owing thousands upon thousands of dollars to owing zero. So long story short, when Joe Biden made the changes where they would allow you to qualify, if you qualified for public service loan forgiveness before, if you didn't apply, if you had missed certain requirements, all of that was going to be waived essentially. So I never actually applied for it or anything because I didn't think that I would. So I was like, let me go ahead and apply. Y'all, I'm grateful because I'm really close. I will say that. But those years that I did not pay on my student loans for no reason, I just put them into deferment because I didn't want to pay them. It was expensive, but still, I literally would have had my student loans wiped, done by now. And not just by now, I could have had them done in 2020, 2021. And now I still have 2 more years to pay on it. And I hate that for me. I love that for me because it's going to happen, right? We're doing the work. But it's just that reminder, that just reminded me, don't put off something, one, that you can do right now. And you really do want to set yourself up and position yourself for how you want to see yourself next year, next month, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. When I think about going into this new year, I want to be in the best shape of my life. And that requires me to do the work now so that I can see those results at birthday next year. But I can't start working out, eating right April of 2025 and then be like, oh man, I ain't meet my goal. Girl, what you been doing? And so that's something that I'm really trying to instill in myself and remind myself, okay, if this is the change that I want to see, if this is what I want to see happen, I have to really be intentional about doing certain things now versus putting them off. All right. The next lesson that I've learned that really has helped me and carried me through this year alone, I'm actually going to combine 2 things. So 1, get you some good girlfriends, okay? I cannot express enough the importance, the necessity of having solid women in your life. I'm genuinely so grateful, so grateful for the women who I'm connected to in this season. Just when I think about the women who have really just shown up for me, supported me, carried me through the last year, these last 6 months. When I tell you, like, I almost get a little emotional about it, because when I look back over this last year, I just, I have so much gratitude for the women and how they have shown up for me, how they have showered me with love, from my bachelorette to my bridal shower to my wedding, to even just helping me as a new wife and navigating this new transition, and just how solid my relationships have been. Like, I don't have the words other than I'm so grateful for being connected to women who, one, are intentional about helping you to grow, helping you to get through hard things, helping you to process things, helping you to know that you're not alone. Also just supporting you, showing up for you, loving you. Like, this last year alone has just shown me just how much I am surrounded by love and support. And that really, really, really warms my heart. Like, I can't say that enough. So I'm going to pair that, get you some good girlfriends, with the necessity to have open, vulnerable, and transparent conversations with your peoples. I cannot stress that enough. This year alone has shown me how important and why it's so important to have those hard conversations, to have conversations with people that you can trust and you can be honest. You ain't got to sugarcoat it. You don't have to filter it. You can just shoot it straight. You can give it to them as it is, and they can help you to see, one, you're not alone. Two, you need to fix your thinking, because that ain't it. But three, also to show you that even if I don't have an answer, even if I don't know how this is going to work out, I got you. I'm here. I support you. I love you. What you need from me. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have those conversations with your girls, with your people, because, and this is people that you can trust, because trust me when I say I can understand how hard it is to share something that's very personal, very private, very, very vulnerable, and to have someone break that trust. Trust me when I say I get that. I know that that is a hard hill to come back from. But find your people, and when you do, have those honest conversations, because let me tell you this. I had a conversation with someone recently, and we were literally in the exact same position. We were feeling the same way about a specific situation. And once we shared that, both of us was like, Shala, I did not know who to tell this to, because I feel like I was the only one that felt like this, and I didn't know what to do with that information. But now, since you said something, I'm going to tell you, girl, you're not alone. I feel the same way. What you mean? Why we even talking about this? Have those conversations, because most of the time we feel alone because we isolate, or because we don't actually talk about whatever is going on. And when you start having conversations, when you start saying like, hey, I feel like this, or hey, I've been experiencing this is going on, most of the time you can get a girl, me too. Like, you are not the only one. And you need to have those conversations so that you know you're not alone. Most of the time, what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, probably normal, but you feel like you're the only one, because based on appearance, based on how everybody else is going on about their life, you feel like you are the only person that has a first class ticket on Struggle Spirit Airlines, and that is not the case. And so that is a lesson that I'm really trying to sit in this year specifically. But that is something that I've really been reminded of over this last year, of just how people want to support you. People want to show up for you. They want to love you. They want you to know that you're not alone, that you got this, you can do this, you can keep going, even when it's hard. And we don't always utilize our resources. We don't always utilize our tribe, but that has been a lesson for me, to really just be more open about sharing my stuff. All right, so the last lesson that I want to share is, it is okay to be private. Okay. I am very much so starting to settle into that more. I am the type of person who, I typically fall more so on the private side. And I do want to make a distinction. There's a difference between being private and being secretive. I don't feel like I come across secretive, but for people who don't know me, they may feel that way, and I'm okay with that. But the people who I do life with, the people who I'm in communication with, they can make that clear distinction that I may be a private person, but I'm not secretive. I'm gonna share with who I know I need to share with. But that is something that I really do hold near and dear to my heart. I feel like I share a lot of myself when it comes to just my personal journey, my spiritual journey. I've always been very transparent and open about a lot of things, but there also are things that I know that's for me and God, or that's for me and my private community, the people who I do life with. And I do feel like I'm gonna tread lightly with, no, I'm not even gonna tread lightly with this. I'm gonna say it. I do feel like at times we can become almost addicted to oversharing because it gets a reaction, it gets a response, and we get to a place where it's like, oh, I'm going to share this because, this going to get likes, or this is going to get the oohs and the ahs. But it's like, what is your heart behind sharing? What is your intention behind sharing? What is your purpose in sharing? And I think sometimes too, with social media in general, it can make us feel like, oh, well, if you don't show it, then it didn't happen. And it's like, girl, we're not 12. Like, we're not in high school anymore. I definitely feel like it is important to protect your privacy. I think it's important to protect the things that are important to you. And I've always said that I am willing to share for the sake of helping someone, for the sake of encouraging someone. I'm willing to be open and transparent and vulnerable in certain spaces about things that I've experienced, things that I've struggled with. I don't have an issue with talking about those things, but there are areas that I have chosen to keep private and which I will continue to do. I feel like sometimes people can almost exploit their trauma because of the views, the likes, the reaction, the response, whatever it might be. And it's like, you got to heal from that too, because you don't have to share everything. Know that there are spaces where God absolutely may use you to share your testimony or to share something that you've overcome. Okay, for sure. Absolutely. But we also do have to check our hearts in oversharing, and even just our desire to share everything. I think you do need to use wisdom in a lot of areas. And I shared before that when it comes to my relationship specifically, like that's an area that I choose to keep private. I made the choice not to share that we were engaged until like 2 weeks before our wedding. I shared it during my bachelorette bridal shower weekend. We had been engaged for 8 months at that point, and I didn't share that we were married for another couple of months after that as well. And so I'm not telling anybody how to do anything. I'm just saying this is a lesson for me, okay? This is something that I've learned, that it's important to protect certain things that are important to you. It's important to protect the privacy of things and people that you value. And I don't want to share things or overshare just for the sake of trying to get views, trying to get likes, trying to get comments, trying to get followers, whatever it might be. Like, when I tell y'all, I ain't got it in me. Like, I don't have it in me. But I say all of that to say, I do feel like it's really important for you to have your level of privacy while also having a community of people that you can be transparent with, that you can talk to about things. Because there are things that I will talk to about the people who I do life with that I will never make a change of heart podcast episode, and that's my business, and that's okay. Not everything has to be shared at a public scale, and there is a level of wisdom that comes with that. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope that you were able to take something away that encouraged you, that helped you, a little lesson that you can apply. And thank you for celebrating my birthday with me by listening to this episode. I hope you have an amazing week. Don't forget to share with a friend. And until next time, don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic. Bye. Thank you for tuning into A Change of Heart podcast. I hope you were encouraged, and please take a moment to share with a girlfriend. Also, I'd love to connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram at @AngelSharon_ and at A Change of Heart podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Angel Sharon. Have an amazing week, and until next time, don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.